Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And we've seen a pullback in indices to a certain extent. It hasn't been way overdone or anything like that. And we've also seen the euro pare back a bit. We'll just take a quick look. I've also, once again, rearranged my screens a little bit. So let me try something here. What I do is just have it, the TOS, I just have it as one screen, just one thing going across multiple screens. I found it better because sometimes I see some performance issues because I had then three different big windows open for that and slowed it down. I can adjust this, and just for today, I'll leave it this way. I can open up another window now, and that way it'll be bigger. But you can see here with the euro, let me see if I can pull this down here. Yeah, it pulls the whole thing down. That's what I don't like, is it does. But I can go and do that, but it moves the whole thing up uniformly. There we go, right here. So let's just go and pull up onto the euro. Bear with me. Oh, look at that. So we've seen a pretty good little pullback in the euro from where we were just now. Not just now, but we're still holding up here. It looked like we're going to even try and break higher. We have paired back, not a huge amount. And you can see here with the Aussie, same thing. It looked like it wanted to take off, but we talked about this. I mentioned this yesterday in the Asian session, not last night, but the night before. We had talked, Blake came in and was mentioning something I also said about that I'd seen that they had sold bonds and they're actually at a negative rate. And that was actually giving the Aussie a little extra kick. And then we saw that fall through late in the day yesterday. But you can see we have on the, which I don't even use an hourly chart. This just when I open up this window, it defaulted there. We can take a look around 2 hour, but you can see these little gravestone dojis right here. But you can see we did see the euro go and pair back. The way I ended up opening up all these windows, it left an extra thing. So I just happened to throw gold in there and just threw Peloton. I don't even follow Peloton. But anyway, I was experimenting because, like I said, when I opened up multiple windows across that, along with the not TradeStation, but Ninja Trader, and then opening up Reuters, it really slowed down my memory. So I saw some performance issues. So I was just trying to experiment with some things. So I'll change it around because what I may do is just open up an additional window for the webinar, and that way I can have everything else still open. But anyway, nonetheless, I just wanted a note there. Let's go and take a look what cable is right now. So also pretty good little pair back in cable. It's been all about that 33.82. Same thing. Here's defaulting to the daily. To the hourly. The 33.82 on the daily, we'll pull this back. Let's switch this to a daily chart. And you can see it's all about the 33.82. One of the reasons I do like about using Thinkorswim is because, look, you can set up the chart separately. So I like that, so that if I'm going into a weekly chart, everything's configured that way. I don't have to be adjusting everything. So I flip it back to the daily, and I can put it on daily or whatever with a daily, however I want to go and do that. And like I said, I told you it's always been about this 33.82. We're even seeing this continue to push back. I forgot where I put today's bias chart support, but was up looking, as we saw this close above 34, it looked like we were going to make potentially could move higher. And then we saw this thing pair back yesterday and open the door. Hey, we're back below 33.82 and going into the end of the week. Certainly open the door for the momentum to push lower we have. I'd have to go back to check what I have for bias chart support, but we were looking for a little bit to go a little bit lower. We can take a look here what the dollar index is doing. And just pretty much doing a whole bunch of nothing. So with that said, let's go on and take a look at the indices, and we'll also look at the calendar. And I shared in the chat room, I covered a short just a little while ago in the NASDAQ. Bear with me. I actually, and let's go and pull up the calendar. And that's what I was talking about, having so many systems open, the Reuters feed, the Thinkorswim, the Ninja, and then Windows. And it really caused some performance issues when I have them all open. And so that's why, like I said, I try working with a uniform window going across all the way, and it seems to work a bit better. But anyway, that being said, hence that's what I'm saying is it looks a little bit odd with the on that other thing when I was showing the effects. But I'll do another little experiment on that for this next week. But anyway, nonetheless, we did get German CPI, which was a couple hours ago, and that came in pretty much in line. You see, looking minus 0.8. Then we got Spanish CPI. All these have come in line, so I'm not sure why the euro did take that dip earlier, although it looked like it was ready to kind of like take off. And then we just got Italian industrial output. That pretty much came in line, just a little bit stronger. And let's see here. And later on, we'll have Mexican industrial output. What we will see later on at 8:30 Eastern is PPI final demand. And then this will be key is at 10 a.m. Eastern. We will say University of Michigan. Now, one of the things that, let's go on and get this out of the way. One of the things that I did, actually, we're working a little bit back, a little bit higher. So I covered right in here into the 30s. If you can see here, we had support. You can see here on the 30-minute, but we are seeing here on the 2-hour. And kind of like what's the name? Irina was saying, she was like interested to hear what the take was on the on what'll happen with the Nasdaq, or what the outlook was on the Nasdaq. We were looking for a rally yesterday, but the rally we got, even that surprised me how quickly it turned around. So I'll get to that. And we'll take a look at the S&Ps. We are below same day and 2-day VWAP, here. So we've gotten pretty oversold here, and hence why I was willing to cover. I did mention, hey, it might even move a little bit lower, and I was looking potentially for a move into the teens, and we got just that. I think we got as low as, like about 13. But I was like, I'm doing okay with this. I held it since yesterday afternoon. I had done mainly scalping, but I'll get to that. But let's just go on and hit the news story, and then we'll get into this. Oh, and so in the evening yesterday, I was checking the news, and I saw that the stimulus is still having trouble. Them trying to get things together. And I'm like, well, this isn't good. They may kind of lean on that, especially technically the way we traded the day yesterday. So we'll get to that, but let me just cover the news. There's only one story. Commodity rally unleashes Aussie as sterling braces for Brexit without trade deal. The dollar headed for a fourth weekly loss in a row Friday to languish in a multi-year troughs against other majors, and sterling snapped a 5-week winning streak after British and European leaders remained far apart on a Brexit trade deal. The greenback is pinned near a 2.5-year low against a basket of currencies as investors bet on better returns in other currencies as the pandemic recovery takes hold. A 9-month peak for oil prices pushed the Canadian dollar to its highest 2018, and the Kiwi breached 71 cents to 71.12. This was a pretty good turnaround, the Kiwi. I did not see that. I was doing my analysis for Asian analysis, and wow, that surprised me that the Kiwi turned around and came back strong. I don't know what it's doing right now at the moment, but that surprised me. Australian dollar also leapt to a new peak, with the Aussie at a new 1.5-year high against the yen. A 6-month peak on the euro. The euro rose against the dollar to 121.60 after the ECB delivered no surprises on Thursday, and regional leaders reached a compromise with Hungary and Poland over pandemic aid package. The common currency has soared 15% from 3-year lows at the highest of March market panic and has added near 2% in 2 weeks in the week since the final breaking of 120 after multiple attempts. With the strong bearish dynamics in place, the trend in your dollar is up, said Peter Capta, a currency strategist at Deutsche Bank. We target 125 in 2001. Sterling was an outlier ahead of a week of brinksmanship in British, as British and EU negotiators have been told they have until the end of Sunday to decide whether a trade deal is possible. Then some things about nothing else of any real significance. Okay, one of the things I wanted to go and one of the things I did want to mention, I was going to mention, I think it was yesterday, and I kind of lost thought on that, is I saw something in the chat room. Someone was mentioning about the overall trading or something of the market and things with FX. And I know some people have struggled as of recently. And I mentioned this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the ones that have done well have been the ones that have basically adapted to the way the market is traded. And I think I did mention this, maybe it was either 2 or 3 days ago. And I mentioned that's why Amanda's done so well. Amanda would hold her positions, not saying she doesn't hold her positions, but she's essentially on, and to a certain extent, definitively has turned into a day trader. And to a certain extent, I've seen it multiple times. She's posted, with good winning trades, she's turned into a scalper. Other people of late that I've seen do really well is DK Trader, because what they're doing is they're just trading what the market has given us. That's some people getting frustrated because they're not seeing positions as we did see before with FX. Like they would just go on and on a trade, but we just keep giving it back, and then we add it, and then we give it back. I mean, the cable is kind of in its own world right now, the way it's trading. But the ones that have done well are the ones that are trading that way. But I think Blake made a comment the other day, which obviously makes sense. I think he said that in that Asian session I was talking about, from not last night, but the night before. He talked about the world eventually a few years ago going to negative interest rates. And that has an impact on the trading. And that's why it's been difficult with FX. But it has been difficult and it hasn't been difficult. The thing is, if you're trading FX from a day-to-day basis, like quite a few of you are, like DK and most recently Amanda, they're doing really well. I mean, Amanda's doing very well, and she's trading just in smaller ranges, and she's just, with the leverage, she's just trading what's there. You see what I'm saying? And I was watching a little show the other day from Anthony Crudele, and the gentleman was mentioned on the show saying, trade what you see, not what you think. And it's the way, and that kind of leads into what I was going to say about the NASDAQ to a certain extent. So we saw that dip. We saw this dip. I was looking for this actually as a day early. It was kind of frustrating. I did do good this day, but it was kind of frustrating because I mentioned I didn't even trade on Monday because I was like, I am not going to be early. And then I went on with it Tuesday, thinking that was the day. And it was actually Wednesday that we really fell apart. But I held overnight, blah, 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 and I was able to cover, and that all worked out well. I did okay for the day. I probably should have done a whole lot better. I did think we were going to fall. I didn't see that extent. But that being said, there were some clues that I saw when I looked here. This really surprised me, the way this thing really took off. One of the things I did notice, and I was kind of like making notes to myself and saying, wow, you should have like a daily journal or something of at least market action, was because one of the things I picked up on, we were talking in the chat room, and as the market broke lower, said, the day before when it was actually did break lower, I said, we're probably pressing a little bit lower, but we are into some support. Chances are, and I think we're around here, and I said, chances are you'll see this push even lower in Asia, which is generally what will happen. We'll see a push even further lower, like, oh, wow. Matter of fact, at the time when I was even thinking that, I thought, I should just barely just get short because at the time I was flat, and I go, we'll probably see a further move. I mean, it's going to happen. And we didn't. And that probably should have kind of like triggered some thoughts into my head when I saw yesterday's. We came in here, and I remember, I think I was saying in the chat room, I go, we're into support. And I actually got long on a scalp, and I didn't even hang on it for very long, and I actually got out of it because I think the market was happening right on the open. the market was trading so fast that I clicked on there and I got out with just a very minuscule profit, and I did not even mean to. So as we started to take off, this bar was, wow, I didn't expect that. But I guess when you look at things in totality, um, I was thinking about how the pair, not the pair, but the index didn't break down in Asia like we've seen before. Where after a big day, you see a furthermore move as Asian traders come in. I think the reason is because people were looking for a pullback, but they're looking for a pullback to eventually get long. I thought we'd pull back even further if we are going to do that. And they were quick. I think what happened was, it's like I told you, the market, people started to trade what was in front of it as opposed to what they thought. And the reason I mean that is we turned around, we came back so quickly. I mean, this was like bananas the way this thing dipped in here. I actually got long. Like, I'm not even kidding. I think it was like right in here, and I ended up getting out with a minuscule profit, but I didn't mean to, because I was trying to put in a limit to get out, and I didn't realize that the market moved so fast that by the time I clicked on the limit, I was already out. And it ended up being a minuscule profit, and that was not even my intention. I was going to hang on. But the point is this thing turned around so quickly. I mean, it really turned around quick. And one of the reasons I was doing that, because at the time when I looked at Fangman, several of the stocks were actually coming into support at that time. So when we ripped up in here, I did not see this thing taking off like this. I was really surprised. And this key level, I've since then put it to enhance it since Asia, just to point out what that level was. So we did take off, and we even added even more, and we kept going. And at the time, I think this was like, I think that was up here, 2-day VWAP. I remember sharing that, and we were still trying to push a little bit higher. And I did point out at the time, I think this was not only was this a level, and I did mention that because I think Pedro was asking, what are we short? And I go, well, that's a level, but the market is still trying to press even higher at this point, and press higher. We did one of the things that I told myself, and I did not do at the time, which was the night before, is also noted to myself, should have a game plan. I was thinking the night before, I said, I don't want to really be interested in shorting this until it gets to 12,406. So I actually jumped in a little bit too early. And yes, I did. Most of my trading is just scalping. But that being said, I'd mentioned, hey, it's all about this 376, and you can see where the market came back to 376. So I was doing a lot of scalping, and then we went back higher again, and then we rolled back again, then we came back. The market looked like it was going to fail as we came back, and we ended up holding this 376. The market just kept holding, and then as we got into in here, I ended up getting short, and I was stuck in the market rally here, and I had to stop at I think I put it at 448 or something like that, something at 444. So it didn't take that out. And I said, okay, well, since then I pushed it down to like in the 20s right here. I think it was like 28 or something, because I'm like, it can't, if it gets over here, then whatever. Definitely don't want to be short. And the market kept going back here, and I saw this in Asia. I'm like, well, I'm just going to hang on, because I was thinking the exponential moving average is going to shift to the sell mode, and I think that's going to help me. Also, as I told you, the stimulus news, it doesn't look like it's going so well. So I thought, well, that'll probably lean a little bit into it. And of course, we saw the break. And as I told you, I was looking for some support coming in right here, and then that's where I went and covered. And as I said, I thought we could break lower, possibly into the teens. We did that because I was looking at the secondary line, but I said, no, I'm not going to hang on, because one of the things that was frustrating is I think the reason it was trading like that, the market wasn't really sure what it wanted to do, because like I said, we got so overextended. Then we came back and we held the 376. Then we rallied back up, looking to the 400s. Then we fell back to the 376. Then we rallied back up again. And I think this was just being quiet. So when I think this is just a lot of indecision right here. That being said, we did see the Fangman stock come back from those lows, and they really turned things around in the morning, and that really got things going. But I think the market was still willing to go and correct. I'm not sure what it's going to do at this point. We've come into some good support. Potentially, we can come back up to 376, and maybe we roll over. But my point is you'd have done better, or i.e., I would have done better, which was instead of rushing in the morning, which was just wait after we've talked about that before. Blake has talked about that. When a market falls off, and you mentioned an example was before, if you're on a ladder and you fall off a ladder and you hit the ground, you don't just pop up and spring. Even if you kind of felt okay, you don't just pop up and jump up and like you kind of like lay there for a second, a couple of seconds, and like, do I have any broken bones? And then you kind of get to start to stand up and pick yourself up a little bit. It's the same thing. This market came back so fast. This has to do with, it wasn't like it was a fake move. It's just that the equities really turned things around, and that's what's kind of frustrated with myself. I said I should have probably just let the first hour go by, because letting the first hour go by would have put me right in here, and I probably would have set myself a much better trading experience than what I did. That being said, you can see here how the market held throughout the day. We came back. This is late in the afternoon. And then in the Asian session, I'm like, wow, they're maybe going to go in and take me out. I think at this point, this is where I had my stop, I think, at 443. And we came back. Like, well, I dodged that bullet. And as we started to break lower, I just kept holding. I'm thinking, well, I could cover here. Like, nope, I'm going to wait it out. So me getting out, even though that wasn't at the low, I was really pretty satisfied with getting out in the 30s, and I wasn't willing to hang on because I said this thing could easily come right back to 376, and it's like all for naught all this time that I was holding. But I did have this working for me, so that I just wanted to share that. And as far as because Irene said what your thoughts would be on NASDAQ, well, when we look at the 2-hour chart, and this is my longer term, I don't focus much on dailies. I just look at on the 30-minute and the 2-hour. And one of the reasons, and that has helped me, if you notice here, I've got the 5-minute chart. Why in these little two windows? I do keep the spoos here, so I kind of see if I see any differentiation here. But I used to have the 5-minute here, but lots of times what I found was, as I said, I couldn't see the forest for the trees, because then well, I would lose, to a certain extent, sight of what's really going on. I'd end up missing a big move. I'd catch this early part, and I end up missing a move because I'm thinking, oh, it's oversold here, here, here. So this has helped me. This helped me in a lot of ways, especially when I'm down the market. I can look at things on a bigger picture, meaning in here, the 30-minute, which has helped me from getting bounced around back and forth. But my overall look, I look at the 2-hour, and I don't put any moving averages on that, although I have in the past, and it can work well for a bigger, longer-term move. But we're not into those kind of moves. We have seen that in equities, but we haven't really seen it in FX. And that's what I'm saying. The people who've been trading really well, and there's DK Trader has been trading really, very, very well. And obviously, Amanda has shifted her focus to very short-term trading, and she's done very well herself. So when I looked at the 2-hour, this was what I've been looking at into this trend. As I told you, I was short here on this move, and that's the Tuesday move. As I told you, I was like, I'm not even trading on Monday, and I thought Tuesday was going to be the big day. And I was actually underwater in this position, and then I ended up hanging on. But the reason I hung on was we had this parallel trend line, and then remember, I had the 127% extension, and the market hit that to the tick. Then it backed off a little bit, and they opened up a little bit above it in Asia, and then from there we were able to go and slide. So now, what I would have looked for this market yesterday, I thought maybe we would have bounced a little bit, and then we would come back here and assaulted these lows. Right now, after we got up here, unless we really come under pressure, and I don't like trade on Fridays, maybe we could make a dip back down here, but at this point, I don't like it. I mean, I don't want to put myself in the situation. One of the things I do want to do is, if I were to do that, is I am going to start to be a little bit more patient. I think you can make some of these moves when we're trading, but once again, I've seen it so many times, is that it's best to wait for after the first hour, especially since I use the cash equities to kind of look for different setups. And yesterday was a prime example. If I'd have been more patient, I could have had one hell of a day, because of the way this was perfect trading for me, backwards and forwards. And if I'd have been exercised a little bit more patience, I think I would have done better. But that being, well, no doubt I would have done better. But as I mentioned, I think this market is an indecision. If you look at these bars, look at it. This was really what happened. Was a lot of people got stuck short, and as the market moved higher, then you had to in a sense, recalibrate to what the new resistance and support levels were. We saw them here, but as the market turned around and added further, then this became the key area. We came back down to challenge the 76 area. Now, right now, I've moved this level here lower, but originally this is where I had it, which was right there, 76, right there. That's 76. Since for Asia, I moved it a little bit lower here, which that has worked out well, which is like at 68. But you can see where the market had gone down here to 76, rallied back up, and then you can see all this indecision. Like it looks like this is what it looked like it's really going to break lower. And then we turn around and we invalidated that. I even shared that in a room ago. We've turned around now. We've invalidated this sell-off of the break of 76. Instead of going lower, we turned around and came back with a bullish engulfing cloud, invalidated, and then look what we do. We turn around, give it all right back, move back to 76, and then turn around and finish strong on the day. So it was just a lot of indecision. And I think at this point, then it was just a matter of where the stops are and where I place my stop. I said, I'm just going to hold on. And if I take a hit, I take a hit. There's nothing I can go and do about it. And eventually it pared down. And I thought that the news was also going to help. Then Blake also mentioned in the Asian session about copper turning around. I thought, okay, well, that'll help for risk off a little bit. So anyway, I ended up blabbing all that, but I thought I just wanted to go on and say what we're to describe what I think is happening, which at this point now I'm not sure because we've come to that support I mentioned to you. You can see on the 2-hour chart. You can see where it was here on the 30-minute, but here's on the 2-hour chart, the 232, and that proved decent here on the pullback here. We did press a little bit lower, but you're going to see that. But right now, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And like I said, I don't like trading on Fridays. I'm going to let the market do what it wants to do. And I think more so than ever, especially in the type of market we've been trading in, where it's just like, remember how tight these are? You really, truly want to wait for the setups. And the only other reference I wanted to make was for trading FX is the ones that have been doing very well are the ones that have been short-term traded. I know that Amir likes to short-term trade. He doesn't hold it into the trades very long. So those are the ones that come to focus when I think of ones that have done very, very well, primarily Amir and DK Trader, but that Amanda, because she has actually adjusted to what the market's doing, has done very, very well and turned into basically a short-term trader / scalper. But that's what the market's given. So that's how she's trading, and she's doing very, very well. So anyway, that being said, let's finally get into, Rita says, thank you very much for your insights. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wanted to share that in the NASDAQ because sometimes I think over the past week, I've had a pretty good feel on this NASDAQ. That's why I started following the cash equities, because I'd see this like, I don't even know what's going on. I mean, I see it. I look at other things, and I was using, if you remember the time I was using the book map and all this, trying to get some kind of an edge, and I just couldn't see things. Once I started following the cash equities, what I like to call the big eight, I guess they call them Fangman plus Tesla, then I could see things because they have a higher weighting. Then I could see things play out more evenly for setups, and I could feel like I was seeing something. But anyway, like I said, I think that I had a pretty good feel for the market overall. But right now I'm not sure what's going to happen right now. And Fridays are always really tough. So let's go move into the FX now. Bear with me. But I thought that was important to share for a couple things. Well, I blabbed and blabbed and blabbed. But once again, I've seen some people mention about FX and like, well, other markets are moving better. Yeah, they are, but there's people like Amanda. Obviously, Amanda's a bit of an exception because she trades. She's an excellent trader, to say the least. But DK Trader does very well. And DK Trader, he's always been a short-term trader and very, very short-term. And that's what the market's giving you. So if you're trying to hold on for, someone can point to the dollar and say, oh, yeah, fade. But if you look at other markets like whether it's the euro or the cable's a little bit different with the Brexit. But nonetheless, these markets, the trends don't last very long. They turn around and flip over. And then, of course, we've seen moves like with the Aussie, Peso, dollar CAD. But let's go on and move into the euro and finally get this analysis out of the way. But I thought it was important to share that. Not only kind of like what's going on with, at least from what I've seen with the NASDAQ, we saw that slide, but I'm not sure if they're going to take it even further. And like I said, Fridays are always tricky. honestly, I don't even see myself after covering that short. I really don't see myself putting something unless I see a heck of a setup, and I don't think that would even happen until later on in the morning. So I'll be done until then. So anyway, let's go and take a look at the euro. Let's pull up the. Let me exit out of Reuters feed. Okay, you can't see because it's going to the other window. But the year closed just a shade below a new closing high. Resistance on Friday will be 2178 with support at 2069. And the low we've had so far is 2115. I mean, we're still holding up here in the stars. Holy smokes. Um, we can go move into a 2 hour. There's a 2 hour. So there was a support level here, but I was looking. So once again, 2178. And 2069. Let's go move into the cable. So we know it's all about that 3382 on the daily. Trying to pull up my. So the cable closed at 3380, closed sub 3382, opening the door for further downside move. Resistance on Friday will be 3382 with support at 3211. Well, we did dip below 32, so I'll stick with that though. 3211 and 3382. Now, I do the analysis in Asia. Actually, yesterday's analysis I did super early, way before Asia. So I try to stick to what exactly I put in there. I don't want to just say, unless we see a very exaggerated move, I don't like to say, oh, okay, now here's the low right here. Now, if 3211 was it, that's what happened was 3211. You know what I mean? The other day, it worked out pretty nice in the sense that um, same thing. I had it for 32.48, and we were actually trading at 32 like 35 or something like that. And I said, no, that's what I've got, and fine, that's going to be our support. And it looked like it could go lower, and then we turned around, and spiked all the way right back up. So it came out to be working out really well on that at the time. But generally, the analysis is done, not generally, but it's done in Asia. And then you can always look at the basic technical if you're looking at what those levels are for a specific market. Take a look at the Aussie dollar. This thing's bananas. Wow. But you are seeing a little bit of a Greystone Doji forming here. Now, as I mentioned, they actually, not last night in Asia, but the night before, they sold bonds at a negative rates, and that gave the Aussie an extra little bit of juice. And I was saying in the chat room, I thought the move would last no more than a couple of days, 2 or 3 days tops. So maybe we'll finally see this thing, but there's no denying where it's at right now. So pull up the news on this, not news, but analysis. So the Aussie closed at new highs on Thursday. Resistance on Friday will be 75.48 with support of 74.47. And Kiwi. This surprised me. This really surprised me. Look at that. We had what appeared to be like a gravestone doji, and look, they turned around and engulfed the whole thing, even closed above those highs. And now we're just dead in the water. It's kind of nuts. Hang on. So the Kiwi ramped up into the close, challenging the 71 cent area. Resistance on Friday will be 71.48 with support at 70.20. Let's go and move on now to the dollar CAD. And this is so important. Reminds me of what I was saying earlier about the old trade what you see, not what you think. This market has just been, you keep thinking, oh, it's oversold. And it's just, and people just getting, we're trying to pick this thing up and getting taken. Um, the dollar CAD broke to new lows on Thursday, closing at a weekly support level of 27.41. Support on Friday will be 27 with resistance at 28.18. Onto the dollar peso. So the dollar peso rallied into the close on Thursday, closing just above the bias chart resistance that we had. Remember, we had 1998 here. Resistance on Friday would be 20.06, and that was the thing here is that the way we closed, we could have really pushed them higher, but we haven't. But this market is very, very oversold. I'm going to leave it at 20.06, but you can see where there was resistance. I thought about this, but I said no. I'll stick with this. I mean, if they were turning around, they can hit some stops. Um, Realistically, I probably would have put like 2012, 14, but I put 2006. That's fine. I'll leave it at 2006. And that's odd. I didn't even put support. I just put resistance there. So let's go with 2006. But this market is so oversold that you could easily see this thing just rip. And we did make a pretty good move here. And the market's been dead. And it actually held. We had a little bit of a tweezer bottom here, and we could have made further new lows. All this thing was already pretty oversold. Um, Support now will go with 1992. And onto the dollar yen. So the dollar yen challenged the 460 level, but paired back. Resistance on Friday will be, and we had our resistance. So we had 461. I think the high was 457 right here. See here. So the dollar yen challenged the 460 level, but paired back. Resistance on Friday will be 452 with support at 403. Wow, we dipped even below 4. Look at that. On to the dollar index. The dollar index fell back on Thursday. Support on Friday will be 90.18, and it seemed like wow. I don't trust this dollar for nothing. So it's like and remember 2 months ago, or I get the last time I think around 6 weeks ago, I kept posting the submarine horn that it was going lower, lower, lower. Um, but to be quite honest with you, I haven't traded any forex. I've just been my trading has been really focused towards the Nasdaq. As I said, as I've gotten really comfortable with following the Fangman stocks, whether it's not only in the daily but on the intraday, and trying to make the most of, because we do see good volatility in the Nasdaq, and that's what I'm about, the volatility. But we've finally seen volatility come back to FX, but the moves don't last very long, which is my whole point, is that you have to focus on how these markets are trading. And why I went on about, talking about the NASDAQ, because I'm not sure what it's going to do at this point, unless we make a whole move lower. Uh, Better to let these moves actually see strong setups. But anyway, looking at the Kiwi yen, wow, another move higher. I still don't see any change here. 73.71 is resistance. The only difference I will say, if we had this high, you'd have to stick with the high for the. If we closed above all the rest, and I don't really want to go much higher, then you have to go with just the high of the day. So that's 74.02. So I would have to adjust that. 73.71, we're actually just a hair above it. But you see here, see this strong close. It's like the Aussie. Even though the Aussie kind of didn't believe it, I just put it above where those highs would be. So right now we have the solid close. I don't believe in the Kiwi yen. I mean, to make another leg higher, so you go with the highs, which is 74.01. And I don't do the analysis for the cross rates in the Asian update. And for support, we'll take a look at a 2 hour. That would be support right there coming across 73.55. And the euro pound. Holy smokes. We had 91.10. This thing's really, from yesterday, this thing's really ripped. As it looks, things won't get done. Whether they will or won't, and just go with the levels. So you can see the resistance level right there. And you know me, I go with the bodies right there. Oh, wow, that's exactly where they stopped. See that? 91.88. They got a little bit above it, but the reason I put it the bodies is because those are the closes, regardless of whether you're looking at a 30-minute, a 2 hour daily. I always say that's put up or shut up time. And I gave you an example, yes, of what looking at the NASDAQ, and that's why I put that level, and they did push higher, but they couldn't close above. I had my stops initially at 12,443, and then you said this market, it made a push in the Asia. But it wasn't, it only went into the high 20s, I guess it was. So, but that's where I look for those levels that is at the bodies. And then for support, it's going to be this prior high right there, which would be 91.13. Let's go into the euro odd. It's to a weekly. That's how I like using this thinkorswim. I already have my levels in place. I mean, I can set up the you can't see it because it's on the other screen right now, but I have them set up to 1 minute to weekly to, I mean, it's so easy to navigate back and forth. And like I said, just navigated to a weekly chart and like just so super fast. So I've got 60.65, so that's a key weekly level. So we'll go with that. And on the resistance, go with the 2 hour. See how quickly that responds. And all the data is there. I don't have to worry about it. If we were to see a turnaround, I don't think so. It'd be 61.39. Onto the Euro Kiwi. ECB's Hoffman saying stimulus cannot be pulled back too rapidly. Withdrawn is what he said. Here's daily. We'll go with that high right there for support, which would be 70.53. I don't think it's going to be challenged, but at least you know where your risk is. And resistance, in this case, I like to go with the upper portion, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll go with the lower body, portion of the body, which is 71.81. Onto the Aussie yen. Now we'll flip it to a weekly. Pretty solid. Pretty good resistance right there. I like that right there. 78.78. And we're trading right now at 78.45. So 78.78. Support. We're holding it really well. It's going to be this body close right there. So you can go. $77.57. Boy, I really like how this thinkorswim works. Wow. So easy to just move back and forth. Let's move to the guppy. Daily. And flip it to a daily chart. This is going to be support right there at that body right there. 37.43. And resistance. We'll take a look at a 2-hour chart. It's going to be right there. 38.61. And sterling odd. Move to a weekly chart. You can see support right there. 75.58 on the weekly. And go to a 2-hour chart for resistance. Man, we'll go with the lower portion of the body, 75.97. Yeah, 75.98. 75.98. And that'll do it for the European crossover webinar. And thanks for joining us here. We'll see you in the chat room.